Welcome to the Daily Exchange. We're here, guys, talking all about decentralized exchanges, the recent hacks, where we've got our special guest, Quoc Lee, joining us from Quanta DEX. Guys, we'll see you guys right after this. Welcome back, guys. We are joined today by Quoc Lee from Quanta DEX. Quoc, welcome to the Daily Exchange.
Thank you for having me here.
Awesome, man. Just a bit of background. Quoc is the CEO and founder of Quanta, a decentralized exchange for cryptocurrencies and blockchain assets. The platform obviously is aiming to deliver cross-chain liquidity to users with speed as a massive focus and really focused on on-chain order books as opposed to some of the other DEXs out there. I guess for all the viewers, Quoc, do you want to start with, tell us about, what is a DEX?
Yeah, so a DEX enable trading to happen completely on-chain. And one of the things that really hinders that is there's a lack of cross-chain, say between Bitcoin or Ethereum. So having a cross-chain is very important to enable DEX trading to happen. And when we have that, we don't need centralized exchange anymore, because that's what essentially they're doing. They're holding custody of both assets to make that exchange. So the aspiration for DEX is to make completely on-chain and the user retain the custody of their tokens, and which means security for the user.
Okay. We'll talk a little bit about that. This is a bit of wash trading, fake trading, whatever it may be, in a little bit. I just wanted to first, so tell us, what is Quanta?
So Quanta, we're a blockchain infrastructure company. So we're working on the fair trading protocol that really enables trading for any token for this rising crypto economy.
Cool. And so is it a protocol, or is it an exchange or a DEX, or can you just sort of explain for our community here, like, what is it?
So we're a protocol first, which means anybody can build an exchange with our protocol. And we are also releasing an open source DEX built on top of the protocol to enable anybody to build that. And we'll also host it on Quanta DEX.
And so that the protocol is called Quanta DEX, did you say?
The exchange itself will be called Quanta DEX, and it will be using Quanta Fair Trading Protocol.
And sorry, and the protocol is called Fair Trading?
Yeah, it's
Fair
called
Trading.
Fair Trading Protocol.
Awesome. And I guess for a lot of people out there, why do we need DEXs?
So we're seeing hacks happens at least a couple times a year. And last year we saw the 500 million NEM hack. We, among others, we saw another half a billion dollar hack. The thing is about hack is we don't we treat it like a car accident. Like, it doesn't happen very often, so I'm not gonna think about it. But when it does happen, people think about differently. Right now in the bear market, we kind of have this advantage of working on this really neat technology, so that when the market rises again, people are going to start asking these questions about, security is really important on the blockchain. If I'm holding cryptocurrency on the blockchain, why am I not trading cryptocurrency on the blockchain?
Yep. Very cool. Yeah, I guess in terms of news, 2018 was a record year for hacks. $927 million of cryptocurrency was stolen in the first 3 quarters of 2018. And Forbes is estimating that to be over $1 billion. Half that figure obviously was made up of Qouc, hack in Japan last year. I think that's the one you were referring to. And also in 2018, $2.7 million was stolen from exchanges on average every day at $1,860 a minute. I guess, how do you think users can protect themselves, Quoc, from exchange hacks?
So, in today's market, if you're going to trade on centralized system, I would trade only on the top brand because they can afford the best security for you, and they would have some sort of reimbursements if they are hacked. And secondly, trade on a decentralized exchange. Use Shapeshift, use Changely, anything that you can. If you're not planning to trade a lot, then DEX is perfect for you in this market.
Do you think that decentralized, centralized exchanges, a lot of the ones that have popped up in 2018 will fade away? So the less known brands?
I think so. I think so. Over time, I think in this market, as the bear market extend, we're going to see a lot of cryptocurrency going to go through a really painful period because you're already seeing currency volume drop by 80% since the top of the market, and a lot of these exchanges use trading bot as well. So these volume are fake. So when you look at real users, there aren't that many users.
I think yesterday some exchanges like Kraken and Shapeshift just released some of their figures. Joel, we've got the CEO of Kraken tweeted about this. I don't know, Joel, if we can bring that up. And then we've got the actual Kraken as well released their stats, saying that a couple of things. One, Kraken had reported about 78 million worth of trades in the past 24 hours, while Shapeshift led less than 1% at $80,000. I think Jesse Powell here with its tweet is saying that, we're happy to assist to extend, and to an extent, to help legally. But right now it seems, and this is what they've reported, is that they've had in 2017, 160 subpoenas. In 2018, they had 475 subpoenas. That's a lot. And they have to, comply to all these requests, and it's law enforcement. You can see here the request by month is, it's really getting up there in terms of the different agencies, even the FBI, SEC, CFTC. This is just for Shapeshift here. What do you think? How do you think DEXs are going to solve this in terms of this compliance, this recent need for subpoenas, and this information that governments are trying to get and understand? Quoc.
It is an interesting question because compliance is good because it makes the user, the customer safer. On the other hand, regulation can also help larger player gain advantage and making blockchain technology less relevant. In my opinion, my hope is as this regulation plays out, that DEX, there will be a place for DEX to be a safe place to trade, and the government would recognize that. I was speaking to one of the head of regulatory, one of the leading experts on regulatory about this, and he kind of painted this picture about DEX. A DEX is like an open ocean. There's going to be pirates. There's going to you can go anywhere. But if you want to, but you need to dock somewhere, which are the ports. And the ports are fiat, which are like Coinbase and these other exchanges when you actually trade those cryptocurrency back to fiat. So the port are actually where the regulations happen, and the DEX is where the ocean is, and the ocean is so big, which can't really be regulated.
That's a good point. You know, how are you planning on handling compliance, you know, in KYC with your DEX?
So we're looking at different solutions that can integrate well with DEX. There are a few companies I can't name right now, but they have some interesting solution where, let's say if I hold a KYC coin, I can leave that on my wallet, and the protocol can recognize that I have this coin on my wallet and facilitate a safe trading experience. We are exploring different ways to do that.
Do you think that you know, by using an identity token, governments will be satisfied, you know, with the KYC AML requirements?
You know, I think one of the biggest challenge to regulation is these regulatory. The regulator needs to understand about blockchain more, and the people who has a lot of money, they're running companies. They're not doing regulations, so it's going to take some time, and I'm optimistic to see that certain countries are adopting it, and maybe it paves like certain companies can adopt identity chain and really show the U.S. that it can be done.
Yeah, very cool. You know, I guess. Do you have any views on the best identity tokens that you would think to use with your DEX?
Well, I can't name them right now.
Or I guess, you know, what are the ones that you're considering, you would consider to be, you know, enterprise grade?
An up-and-coming company called Wire, based in San Fran. There's one in Singapore. I forgot what the name is, but it's a good solution.
Very cool. I guess, you know, let's talk a little bit about DEXs versus centralized exchanges. You know, what do you think, I guess, are the strengths of a centralized exchange versus a DEX and vice versa? Like, why would you use a centralized exchange?
So I was reading this article. It was interesting, where they were comparing centralized system are like the Catholic Church, and you know, the decentralized are more like the more Judaism like religion. And so there are advantages. The reason I point that out, there are advantages with centralized system. They can be much more efficient when it comes to building software, adding feature, creating user experience. So on the decentralized exchange, on the other hand, its decision is much slower, and it takes a longer time. For a centralized system today, people go there because the trading is fast, and there are a lot of tokens to choose from. On the decentralized, it's right now the biggest hurdle is technology, and that's what we're solving for. If trading can happen with under 1 second, then the trading experience would be much better. And of course, building the UI to make that trading experience better. And the DEX also has the advantage of custody. The custody is it means that the user can retain their token without through the whole trading experience, without pushing it to centralized exchange or anybody else.
Yes.
And the third advantage is transparency. Once it's on a DEX, you can see all the trade happening, and that means that system will live forever. If the company, there's no such thing as a company crashing or a company manipulating the system, because it's on the blockchain. So we think a lot about, you know, trying to balance between the centralized and decentralized experience, and really provide something really new into what we call the fair trading protocol.
Okay. And I guess, to explain to all our viewers here, I think it's really important is, there are a lot of protocol, quite a few out there, 0x, Loopring, Kyber, Komodo. Tell us, what makes the Quanta or the fair trading protocol different?
So I categorize DEXs in two types. One is the order book based trading protocol, and that's the category we're in. That's the category Loopring and 0x is in. Most of the DEX protocol out there right now that are order book based, it's off chain. So which means that it's run by a centralized system, and front running could happen if that order book is managed by a certain entity and they want their trade to come in first. This is called this is called fronting an order. If they see a profit order, they push the order right in front of it and they execute the order first. So that's the basic flaw of today's order book based DEX. We're completely on chain, so that's different. So it's better. The other category, which is Kyber and Bancor, it's called liquidity pool based solutions. That means they get money from their investors or either the token listers, and basically they have an automated market maker bot built into the smart contract to fill your order. So the limitation to that is limited in liquidity. Because there was only there's a fixed a maker and there's a large pool of taker.
Yeah, just in trading news, Loopring currently had a huge day, up 40%, taking the RST20 token up to 9.7 cents in trading. So there seems to be a bit of interest, a lot of Korean volume, $16 million worth in the last 24 hours. Did you notice anything about Loopring, in particular, Qouc, that interests you, that might have sort of sent that in that direction?
Well, it's run by a very good team, and he's actually also from Arizona State University, which is where I'm from as well, and he's actually won the fund investor of my investor. I think the technology is great. They're doing a lot of work in China and getting that adoption. What I also noticed in this bear market, 0x, DEX, and Loopring, these type of coins tend to do much better for some reason. So I think we can infer that people want security. They want something that they want to believe in.
Makes sense. And 0x in trading news as well have come out, and they have offered $15,000 to market makers to provide more liquidity. Yep. That's a lot of money. Joel, I think we've got a offer sheet here. The first way to earn a reward is by fulfilling at least $1,000 worth of market orders in 2 weeks through the use of trading bots. Joel, I don't know if you've got the thing here. Obviously, this could make market makers a whopping $5,000. Now, that's a lot of money. A lot of compensation here: integration, market making bots, strategic market making. So they're really trying to drive. 0x is really trying to drive adoption. Qouc, what do you sort of see as some of the big blockers that are preventing market makers from joining DEXs?
So we are actually talking to some market maker bot companies, specifically they're also doing something for 0x as well. This is gonna be my prediction right now. I think one of the biggest driver to DEX adoption is going to be market making from centralized exchange to decentralized exchange. The reason why this is big because you have billions of dollars happening on a centralized system, and what a market maker does is it can fill the order on the DEX side by going to decentralized exchange. By going to centralized exchange and filling the other side. Right now, market makers very dominated by institution money, Wall Street, guys who have the expertise and the money. But once people start open sourcing market maker, now what we have is market maker, decentralized market making, which means anybody who's hold currency can make a profit on their money. So you have to give that to a fund, and and the money is just not limited to investor making that money. So coming with this DEX economy, we're going to see DEX market, decentralized market making. And so we're betting big in this area to make that trading experience really good on a DEX.
So what are some of the things that you're sort of planning on doing to bootstrap liquidity and market makers into your exchange?
So we're planning to offer an open source market making bot, which means that if you have any funds in any funds in two pair, you can run that market making between our DEX with an account in Binance or Coinbase, wherever that account is, and it would be a principal basis trading algorithm, which means that you do not lose your starting principal.
Very cool. I think definitely these other protocols and exchanges, they've been built quite a while ago, and obviously there's some new problems that are being conquered, and I think you guys are really addressing them. What are sort of the what would you say? You've got this new and anti-front running ledger. I think that's one of the issues, I think, or something you flagged. Can you tell us a bit about this new feature and what is the problem you're addressing with the anti-front running ledger?
Right. So this is actually a really good question. Fronting means fronting an order means either somebody sees a profit order and they can somehow place that order in front of your order and profit from that. So in centralized system, because they control the order book, they can do that at their at their will. On decentralized exchanges, most systems are vulnerable to front running. So if you're in a mining kind of system, then the miner gets to decide which transaction goes first. And when you get into a smaller block set of block producer, it's pretty easy to collude. Like if you don't like your competitor, like every time you produce that block, you just rearrange it differently, right? So proof of stake system are at risk. Proof of work are at risk. So how we're looking at this, so we see this as a very important problem to solve on the DEX, and we have an approach to prevent that kind of behavior from happening. So there are two popular solutions. One is completely randomization. So no one can predict what the order is, and somebody else will validate that random order. I think our solution is a little bit more interesting, where we have a way to measure latency from that order from multiple systems, and that system would have to agree the latency it takes to your system that it takes to the blockchain. Then we use that as a way to sort it fairly.
Very cool. That's incredible. It's definitely one of those parts, particularly with security and a lot of the fake trading volume that is going on right now. You know, and this proof of keys movement. I think yesterday we talked about Grin launching, and there was trading happening on Grin even before coins had been minted. There was more volume on some of these exchanges, you know, and I think that's sort of proving to be quite a factor right now in exchange trading. And you know, one of the things I wanted to talk about, I guess, you know, and I think it's really important, Qouc, is tell us about the coins that you can trade and the currencies on your platform.
Yeah, just to touch on the trading bot issue that you mentioned earlier. There's a cool website called blockchaintransparency.org, and they actually start ranking. They rank all the exchanges and how much API-based trading that happens on these popular exchanges, and they range from 70 to 90%, which is kind of staggering numbers if you want to think about it. But in terms of listing, so we have a cross-chain technology that initially going to support the Ethereum blockchain and the Bitcoin blockchain. So this means that we're going to support all ERC20 trading, including the native Ether, and also the BTC blockchain. So initially, we're going to list our QDEX tokens and BTC ETH pair, and we like to list popular tokens like Maker, the DAI token, which is the stable coin, and Circle USD, because that's also ERC20.
So I know earlier you said, and I think Qouc was a great analogy, the ports and the oceans, ports being where you can sort of, you know, dock and get into some sort of fiat currency. Last week, I believe, Binance launched its new fiat on-ramp with Jersey, allowing British pounds and euro to be traded in and out of with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Joel, I don't know if you've got the map handy to show everyone. Speaking just you know, supporting fiat currencies, I think, is very challenging, Qouc, for a DEX. But you know, I guess, what are your plans? You know, I guess stablecoins are the replacement of that. Like, tell us about your view of the current stablecoins and which ones you see as, you know.
And I think this is actually a really big thing, because there's a lot of people want to trade, want to have a stable coin to trade back and forth, and I think a lot of companies are tackling this this on ramp, and it's not really within our scope. So from our standpoint, we just assume that the user went, you know, got in from fiat into a crypto coin at some point in time, and they'll trade on our DEX. I think I'm kind of agnostic to what those coins are, but I think having a transparent auditing process is very important to increase the trust of that coin, because they're essentially acting as a bank.
Which of the stable coins? So you said DAI, you were initially going to support with MakerDAO.
DAI, Circle Coin, Tether probably a little bit later. There's another one, Paxos. I think it's good.
What do you think about the sort of, you know, True USD being on Ethereum, and we've got.
I think True USD is good too. Okay.
Any plans on integrating one of the Ethereum-based stable coins?
For ERC20, it's a zero cost for us, because we support the blockchains, which means any ERC20 would work.
Okay. Awesome. Now, in terms of team, I noticed that you guys have a lot of team from on Tango in your past. Tell us, how does your experience there, I guess, from your team translate over to building this protocol and this DEX?
Yeah, so I was director of labs and engineering at Tango. I ran a team of product engineering, design. I think and we launched a product that got to 1 million users, went on TechCrunch, VentureBee, and so on. I think that one of the biggest thing to get from that one is that we know how to build great user experience, and we can take that and apply to DEX. Prior to that, I was at PayPal, a settlement team. So they were revolutionary within the payment system. And then I was at eBay. My colleagues were at Netflix and Google. So we really have this this long technology infrastructure experience that we want to bring to DEX, as well as the user experience.
Awesome. Now, in terms of funding, you touched a little bit about that. Tell us about how have you funded, or are also continuing to plan to fund, how have you funded the Quanta and the Fair Trading Protocol?
So we raised privately back in July of last year from 4 funds internationally, and we sold that through our QDEX tokens, and we're of course we're continuing to fundraise to continue our efforts.
Awesome. Okay, well let's tell us about this QDEX token. Tell us, what are sort of the tokenomics behind QDEX?
Yeah, so we think the tokenomics is very important to the Quanta ecosystem, and we're using our token called QDEX to pay for the platform fees, and holding the QDEX will the token will appreciate in value because we will be doing buyback with the trading fees and basically essentially buying more QDEX tokens there, and we use that as part of the referral program and incentive system, and also incentivizing block producer to increase the strength of our network.
Mm-hmm. And are you burning tokens then, so to removing some of the supply?
So yes, when we buy back the using the trading fee, we will be burning tokens.
Okay, so taking a bit of similarities from Binance, but then it seems like you've sort of identified some of the issues, and we think we talked about that in an earlier show around 0x and potentially them needing to adjust their governance to start actually bringing in some tokenomics models like you're describing. It seems like you've built an evolved version of the tokenomics and governance of 0x. Did you take inspiration from those and see some of the problems there?
Yeah, so essentially tokenomics boils down to inflationary or deflationary. Deflationary is good because you're decreasing the supply, which increase the value for your token holders. Inflationary is good as well. A lot of blockchain does this. There's a lot of bad example of inflationary, but there are good example of inflationary too, because if we inflate to say pay for block reducing or pay for a referral program, and that pays off, that actually increased the value of the Qouc token as a whole, without spending and we don't have to spend too much real money.
Makes sense. And then I guess right now in the market, investors are kind of shying away potentially from utility tokens and we're sort of moving towards security tokens. Have you sort of had any challenges in raising money and making people aware of that?
So when we raised privately, that was considered as a security token, and under the credit investor kind of rules. We were able to raise that from accredited investors.
Yeah.
But when you get into retail investor, that's a big no-no, especially in the U.S. So I think when people talk about STO, people talk about in the different contexts, not so much for fundraising, but they're more or less collateralizing like a real estate asset or something large that really makes the process worthwhile, because it actually costs about $300,000 to $400,000 to get an STO paperwork. So that to me doesn't make sense for raising capital for a company, but that's more of where you're collateralizing large amount of assets and make it divisible or whatever the asset does.
Makes sense. I guess quick market update for everyone out there. Bitcoin trading at $3,609, Ethereum at $119. Some interesting moves up here. EOS up 6% to $2.50. Litecoin at $31.99. Ripple stable at 32 cents. Tron up 6% to 2.6 cents. They've obviously had a lot of news with their Connect token coming out. I can't say too much about Tron as a... Sorry, I also said Ripple instead of XRP, which is a no-no. And I apologize to everyone involved, but even myself, I am confused. How have you seen, I guess, the market's a little slower in terms of trading. Quoc, what's sort of your views right now on what might change the market to bring that enthusiasm and bring that appetite back to the cryptocurrency market?
So I think Ethereum needs to do something soon. I think we've been waiting for a long time. Constantinople was supposed to be in January. They pushed it back to February, and their proof of stake, they're going through some sort of deliberation process, which I can't see happening before Q2. Meanwhile, I think blockchains like Tron, they're really taking advantage of this. What I think will be really interesting is when people start migrating their ERC20 tokens to another blockchain, which is really what ERC, which is the Ethereum real advantage. Yeah.
Makes sense. So you want to see some more changes in some of these blockchains. You want to see some more movement and starting to solve a few more of the problems that exist, particularly around scaling.
Yeah, that's on the technology side. I think on the trader investor side, I think that we are seeing seeing shifts that happening very slowly, and like for example Tron, it was probably under 20. Now they're in like top 10, and nobody really realized until that happened, right? So I think we're seeing shifts, but people aren't talking about it, and I think my prediction is like in 6 to 12 months, the landscape will completely be changed, and we'll be looking back and like, oh my God, what happened? What I'm trying to say is shifts are happening, and we just have to really look at them very closely.
Let's come back and talk about the market in a sec. I know you guys are running a fantasy trading contest. Do you want to tell everyone about your fantasy trading contest? What is it, and how do you win?
Yeah, so we thought what would be fun to showcase our trading testnet by running a paper trading competition, which means we have 2 prizes. The first prize is if you trade really well and your total balance is first, you're in first place in terms of balance, we will reward you with Qouc token as well as Cold Cash. The second way to win is to trade as often as possible. And we're actually encouraging people to trade with API and trade against directly programmatically against our blockchain. So what we get out of it is we're stabilizing that testnet. We're stress testing it before our mainnet, and you get to have fun doing that.
Very cool. In terms of roadmap, where are you guys at? You said you're running a testnet, I believe. Tell us about where you're at now and what's the next big milestone coming up.
So we are planning to launch our mainnet in March, mid-March, and that's when trading will happen. And so be on lookout for Quanta live in March. It'll be exciting.
Very cool. And tell us, so the March release, is there anything else people should be looking out for with Quanta right now?
Yeah, so the best way to follow us is to get updates is join our Telegram and join us on Twitter as we make these announcements. Just a quick, Quanta is going to be probably the first exchange that can trade in sub-second latency. You still have custody of your token, and the order book is completely on chain. So we'll be making more announcements coming up soon. And if you're interested in running nodes for us, you can do that. And if you're interested in our doing market making using the open source bot, you can do that as well. So you can find us and talk about it.
Very cool. And just taking a step back, in terms of 2019, do you have any predictions for the market this year?
I think it's going to be kind of biased on this, but I think it'll be the year of the DEX. I think when you look at trading volume for DEX, I think what you're going to see that volume be much increase, and that list is going to shuffle around a little bit. You're starting to see that with the trading price, and we're making progress. Our friends are making progress, so I think that'll be interesting on the DEX side. My other prediction would be something around a stable currency, a stable coin. I think we'll see more adoption, and I think we'll see more application, maybe payments related to payments, maybe related to tokenizing stocks. Like you probably heard of Tesla coin. I think that's a great idea. It really enables people to trade U.S. company in countries where they don't have access to that. I think that opening this liquidity from to other places in the world, I think it's big. And my third prediction would be something around technology, where proof of stake become mainstream, and that really hinges on either is Ethereum or it's just another blockchain taking over Ethereum. So I think this is the year of where we know the face of Ethereum.
Cool. Last two quick questions. We ask every guest on our show. First one is, if you had two cryptocurrencies squaring off in the octagon, which ones would you love to fight each other?
Which cryptocurrency would fight each other? That would be interesting. That is a hard one because, but if I had to pick, it would be, let's say, just for fun, I think BCH and BSV. I want to see which one wins there.
Okay, that's spicy. I like that. Lastly, it's 12 o'clock, midnight 2019. The clock strikes 12, what is your prediction in US dollars for the price of Bitcoin? And that is not financial advice, anyone. No financial advice.
Yeah, not financial advice. You know, I think BTC is going to be a place where people will hold their money. So I think it will be at least 3x, 4x, so 20,000 around there.
20,000 US?
That's my prediction.
All right. Quoc, thank you so much for joining us. Before we go, we are just going to, we gathered together all of our predictions last year in 2018, and we will finish the show giving you the big reveal as to who was right and then closest when it comes to the prediction of New Year's Eve Bitcoin price. Quoc, we thank you for joining us, and we really appreciate what you're doing for the cryptocurrency industry and growing this market. We wish you all the best of luck, and do come back on the show. We'll have an update in March, I'm assuming. So do keep us up to date, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you for having me here. It's been fun.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to leave you to the predictions video. Joel, if you want to spin that bad boy up, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah!
I'm going to say about 11,000.
11,000. There it is.
Yeah.
I think it'll go up.
9,000 US.
Oh, I think it's going to go down. Probably 5.5.
I think it'll be above 10,000 Australian. That's my
10,000.
not financial advice.
No financial advice.
I'll go first. It's going to be 11,406.
2,768 M&Ms.
No financial advice.
Everything we do is based on the whole blockchain Bitcoin idea, so it'll go up. I don't know how far. We don't give advice.
We don't give advice. This is no.
It would be somewhere between where it is today and 7,500. I mean, how fast it clogs up that.
It's not fun. This is not financial advice.
Trevor Kaverko predicts $10,000 Bitcoin.
I'm going to say $9,600.
All right, let me give you some. Let's say 7,000.
I better not. Just maybe like last year number.
My view, it's going to stay around $6,000. I don't think anything is going to happen in the industry to basically, change that or influence it in any way.
I'm going to go with advice, by the way.
Definitely not. It's definitely not. I'm going to say 8,300 US.
Oh no. This is not a financial advice.
This is not financial advice. No financial advice.
I say we'll see it going back up to 12,000.
Joel, have you made your prediction? 3,500?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's do 3,532. Why not?
I think you're right. We'll drop a little bit more, but I think we'll be back to where we are now by midnight.
5,823.
All right.
I have no idea if that's correct.
I think it's going to be either higher or lower than it is now.
It's going to be, I would say, 6,432.
And Austin?
I'll say 5,321.
What do you think the price of Bitcoin will be?
No idea. All I care about is use.